Hey, Piyush. Nice to see you. Good to see you too, actually. Alive as well. Just waiting for more people. Who knows? Maybe it's just going to be you and me. Damien Mehra. Hey, what's up? Welcome. So, we're all very excited about Chandrayaan. Oh, I can hear myself. This is very disconcerting. One second. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Does one stop it? Does that work? Does that work? Nope. I guess I'm just gonna have to deal with this. I'm just gonna take my one earbud out and hope for the best. All right, guys. So Chandrayaan's happened. That's pretty exciting. Um, how are you guys feeling about that? Honestly, like weirdly, initially I wasn't feeling too excited. I don't know. It's like ghar ki murgi kind of thing. It's just something that one has to kind of really absorb. But the weird thing is that we have managed to get a lander on the moon. And it's pretty amazing because the Russians tried, and in their rush, they kind of crashed and burned. Kind of serves them right, I think. At least as far as things are going today. um, so yeah, tell me your thoughts. What do you think of the whole Chandrayaan thing? As in the Vikram lander. Chandrayaan hasn't actually landed, but the Vikram lander is happening. Um, Chat about that. Also, I'm writing an article. So I don't know if you guys knew, but I write for the um, uh, the Parliamentarian magazine. So I'm the science columnist. If you guys haven't subscribed or seen the Parliamentarian magazine, you really should because it is fantastic. It's a great publication. They have a lot of amazing articles. A lot of it is very centrist, and mostly and quite clear and unbiased. So they have the magazine is fantastic. I'm very glad to be working with them, and I've written several articles for them already about healthcare, about mental health, about EVs. And I'm just putting the finishing touches on the article about Chandrayaan. And so I was just waiting for the whole thing to wrap up and for us to really get some news that we're landing, and that would and I just putting the finishing touches on that. Hey, Vimo, welcome. You want to join me on here, or are you in your pajamas? uh, well, I should be going to bed early these days, but I have decided not to, because if I'm going to be going to the US for all these conferences, then what's the point? Stalling a bit, is it? Hmm. This is going well. You're the StreamYard guru, right? The streaming guru. I'm not sure why, but I mean, it says that the connection is excellent. So, and plus, I can hear myself, which is a weird thing. Oh, Vimo's about to pass out. Vimo already done with today's live face blue smiling. Face blue smiling? What's that? Is that something to do with Shiva or something? Oh, good. Maybe I should just close off a few windows and work on my article later. Right. So, for the people who have joined early, I will give you a little sneak peek into what is happening in the background. That was a YouTube emoji. Oh, I didn't even know there were YouTube emojis. Is that because I have an iPhone? Anyway. But yeah, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of um, what do you call it these days? BTS. I keep mixing it up with a Korean pop band, but behind the scenes, I just had an interview with Professor Dave this morning. Yeah. So we get into a lot of crazy stuff. I've also had an interview with, oh, StreamYard translates emojis into text. Oh, that's what it is. Hey, I'm learning, man. This is my first time, but at least I'm not a StreamYard virgin anymore, if you know what I mean. Whackety quack. um, yeah, so Professor Dave's interview is going to be coming out in a couple of weeks. I've had a very, hey, D, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you guys joined. D, of course, has been following me from day one, which is amazing. I mean, all of you have been following me for, or at least subscribed to my channel from day one. I am so happy that you have, because it's been a very, weird couple of years, and slowly building up, video by video, and really trying to get my head around how to edit videos and stuff like that. That's why I've kind of stuck to interviews which are much less editing intensive. So for now, that's the way it is. But in the future, I am going to be making, like one-on-one videos, which are more what I really want to do eventually, because I want to get into a lot of different topics that I don't necessarily have people to interview with. And of course, the people who I really want to interview might not accept my invitation. Sorry. Um, Andrea, welcome, welcome. Um, so yeah, I do want to get into those talking head videos, which I definitely will. Maybe a little bit later this year, maybe once I come back, and kind of come back with more enthusiasm and more focus, and hopefully a friend who can help me do the production and kind of show me around how all of this is done. Fingers crossed. Um, so yeah, so and I've also had an interview with Edzard Ernst, who is such a big deal. Like, he was has done so much research on homeopathy and other complementary medicines. He's written a book called Trick or Treatment, which you have to read if you haven't already. It's available on Kindle, and probably on print as well. Um, can we talk about Brahmagupta, discover of discovery of gravity and Newton's law? Well, I'm not a physicist, but I definitely be open to talking about that. And I also horrible at history, so maybe you can teach me something. You want to hop in and talk about this, Piyush? Oh, that reminds me. Thank you, thank you. Great title. Come at me, bro. One second. All right, Vimo. Have a good night, man. Thanks for joining us. It's like I have his blessing. Oh. Mhm. All right. Cappy, watched my video with Krish Ashok yesterday. One of the best nutrition science videos I've seen in a while. Thank you so much. That's like a treasure trove of information, don't you think? Like, and first of all, he's apparently in a very good mood because he's talking really quickly and he's talking about such a variety of topics. Like, I didn't even have to do anything. This was like the easiest interview in the world. It's like, just dropped in a suggestion or a question, and he'd just go at it and give a full explainer on it. And it was absolutely delightful. That video was so much fun to do. Right. So if you guys want to join me, does one do this? Okay. Oh, I can ban myself. I can put myself in timeout. I'm learning all of this. This is all my first time. So here is the link. If you want to join me, make sure you have a mic and preferably a camera, and you can just hop in and uh, have a talk. What do you think? I Oh, you sent that video to your parents. I sent it to my parents as well because there were certain things like the whole what is it, and my in-laws, because there was that thing about sugar and jaggery, which was very interesting, which I loved. And it after that video, every single bottle of peanut butter I see has jaggery in it. Why? Why do you have to put gur in peanut butter? How is that making the peanut butter any better? Peanut butter better. That's a nice tongue twister. um, but yeah, I because I love peanut butter, but why would I want to have good in it? It's disgusting. Put an artificial sweetener in there. I have no problem with that, man. And considering this big hullabaloo about aspartame, thanks to the WHO, everybody's been going absolutely crazy and saying that, oh, Diet Coke is bad for you, artificial sweeteners are bad for you. No, it is not. Put some aspartame or some sucralose in some peanut butter and make it slightly less calorie dense, even though, of course, the fat is what will really lay on the layers, which is what has been happening to me for most of my life because what can I do? Peanut butter is my favorite thing in the whole world. And I'm kind of addicted to it, but I'm trying to pry myself away from it, you know. But yeah, so where was I? Oh, first of all, we were talking about gravity, the discovery of gravity. Piyush. So, who exactly is Brahmagupta? Tell us. You can either put it in the comments or you can join that link. Is that link joinable? I hope it is. One thing about Vimo's live, this is exactly why I timed this at 10 o'clock because I didn't want to bump into his live show and mess things up for him. So that's why I've kind of kept this a little on the late side. Plus, of course, my channel has a lot of subscribers across the world. And hopefully, this time will give some of them an opportunity to join in if they want to. Um, I don't know where D stays. Where do you stay, D? I mean, what side of the planet? Let me know. Uh, I can relate. I'm tired of people telling me you'll get cancer by consuming one can of Coke. This is absolutely hilarious. I've had so many people tell me that, first of all, either Diet Coke is fake because there's no way you can get something that sweet without sugar, or it's impossible to have 0 calories in something, which is also weird because all you have to do is have someone who, oh, I'm sorry, not someone, but something which is a lot sweeter than sugar. It's just about the amount of sweetness that a certain chemical has. And that is uh, all that matters. So you just need a very tiny little amount of aspartame or sucralose, and that just basically works like the same, like a much larger amount of sugar, maybe 200 times larger of sugar, which is how you get low calorie drinks. Simple as that. And it doesn't give you cancer. I'll tell you a little bit more about that study. D. So you're in Rhode Island. Oh, you're at work right now. They were referring to a can of the other Coke. Vikram Chanda, welcome to the stream. This is my brother. So, this is a family show, so I can't talk about the other Coke. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. But yeah, so D, so on Rhode Island in the USA, you're at work, which is exactly, this works fine, right? This time is absolutely perfect for connecting with people all over the world, maybe even Australia. Touchdown. High five, brother. Isn't this way past your bedtime, bro? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. One thing about the aspartame thing, which I wanted to really talk about, and we'll come down to the gravity bit as well, Piyush. Don't worry about that. We So aspartame, the primary study that a lot of people kind of connect to is or at least refer to, is that there was this study where they did it. They gave these mice aspartame and an extremely large amount of aspartame, and the mice themselves were actually very. I mean, they were genetically engineered to kind of to be very susceptible to cancer, so that there could be a lot of cancer studies, and so they could be in cancer studies. Sorry. So when they gave these mice huge quantities of aspartame, so as per the body weight, they gave them over thousands of times more aspartame than they should be given. And so, of course, at that trigger, they started developing tumors. And the part that is really sick now, this has several connotations. So the really sick part was that they allowed these mice to have these horrible tumors until they were literally bulging out from their bodies, so that they could take pictures of them and put them into their study report to basically give this kind of a visual sense of disgust at what was happening. The problem was that even animal studies have certain ethical guidelines, which mean you have to um, euthanize the animals that you've been testing in a humane manner as much as possible, and not let them live through some horrible disfiguring disease that you can very easily put them out of their misery, much quicker than that. So uh, this whole exercise of putting these mice through this test, which was not fairly done, it wasn't appropriate, it is not equitable to human trials, it does not equate to humans, because these are not only mice, these are mice which have this high probability of cancer forming. And so there were a lot of problems with this. And this was just one study, and everybody tends to kind of refer to this study as the kind of the groundbreaking aspartame will give you cancer nonsense. And it's absolute bullshit. It's just not, it doesn't hold any water. In fact, if you have anything 30 to 50, 60 cans of Diet Coke a day, which is probably not good for you for a variety of other reasons, including caffeine, the aspartame is really not going to do much for you. I have maybe one can a day, or maybe two at the most. I think there have been a couple of parties where, because I don't drink, I've just been chugging Diet Coke one after the other. And the next day, for some weird reason, I feel like I have a hangover, even though I've had absolutely no alcoholic beverages. So there's got to be some other weird stuff in their recipe, which is, not particularly good in large quantities. But aspartame is not one of them. Don't worry about it. You can tell that to all your friends. So Piyush says, I watched Dhruv Rathi's video on carbonated drinks and how sugary they are. What would be an adequate, as in permissible amount consumed? 500 ml a month? I'm not sure. Hey, Adarsh, welcome to the stream. First one. Woohoo! Okay. And first landing of India on the moon. Separate top. That's a separate topic. Oh, by the way, before we carry on, Piyush, I'll get back to you. In honor of that, I've got my moon, like spaceman mask. Sorry, mug. Ugh. There is a problem when it comes to doing these shows like this late at the evening. My brain starts going a little weird. Anyway, so I've got my spaceman mug, and coincidentally, I've also um, got this framed. Now check this out. This is the Apollo 11 EVA astronaut Edwin E. Aldrin Jr. Lunar module pilot talks. Sorry, walks on the surface of the moon near a leg of the lunar module during the Apollo 11 extravehicular activity on July 20th, 1969. Astronaut Neil A. Armstrong, commander, took this photograph with a 70 millimeter lunar surface camera. And oh, check this out. So I took this to some sort of show and tell when I was in like class, was it 4? When I was in class 4. And we got this image from NASA. How cool is that? So I've got this I've got this framed, and I'm going to put it up in my studio somewhere. So if you guys have any suggestions, take a screenshot, put a big circle around it, and send it over to me. So yeah, so the right, coming back to the carbonated drinks. Now, carbonated drinks, it really depends on a lot of things with the amounts of sugar that you're consuming. If you want to have a drink, a sugary carbonated drink, not one of the low calorie ones, it really depends on how much exercise you're getting, how much activity you're getting. Are you underweight? Are you overweight? Do you have a healthy pancreas? Do you have healthy a healthy insulin response? These are all very important factors when it comes to figuring out how much sugar you should be consuming. So there is no safe limit, I would say. But it was I think, I mean, you should kind of draw a line yourself depending on what your bodily, you know, problems or lack thereof might be. Every now and then, maybe one or two a day, or maybe like, maybe half a glass a day, or maybe 200 ml in a day is probably all right. It's fine. Maybe two of those, that's fine. I think a lot of people can survive through worse. A lot of people have 2 drinks of alcohol a day, and alcohol is probably one of the most toxic things you can consume. So, yeah, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. I mean, if you're within reason, I mean, if you're chugging like a 2 liter bottle of Pepsi a day, I think that is problematic. And you might want to switch over to the low calorie version of that. And that should definitely help you, even if you're chugging like 2 liters of it in a day. So don't worry about that. Did I hear the azan? What's that? I did not hear the azan. Azan? Tell me more. Now, and as far as gravity is concerned, we can come back to that. So I love hearing Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about gravity and talking about Newton and his discovery of not just gravity, but how gravity works and how the planets go around the. My brother is taking offense to my alcohol bashing. Tough, bro. I mean, but hey, if he can run 10 kilometers a day and shrug it off, I'm not going to stop him. I'm not going to stop anybody from having a drink or several. That's totally your thing. Enjoy yourselves. Exactly. Neil deGrasse Tyson, fire emoji. I met him last year. Oh my god, I'm so excited. So I don't know why my voice went up like that, but yeah, it's Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm a big fan. What can I say? So when he talks about Newton, and he's like, this guy is probably one of the smartest human beings that have ever lived. I think Brian Greene also kind of agreed with him in another conversation I was watching, and the basically the ugh, lost my stream of thought because I was looking at Dee's message. Islamic propaganda about NASA hearing the call to prayer on the moon. Oh, that Azan. Who 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 brought this on? What happened to this? I mean, when did this happen? Is it you're talking about the original landing on the moon, and that there was some sort of thing that NASA heard during that? Was there a transmission? Maybe they got, it was all radio transmission. Maybe there was a transmission line crossing, but I haven't heard of this one. I've heard about a lot of other stuff about the moon landing, but not this one. I have to look this up. Thanks for bringing it bringing it out. Um, but yeah, about Newton, the astonishing thing was that he managed to calculate the the primary equations of the Earth going around the moon, the Earth going around the sun, and he managed to do a lot of those basic calculations, which I think we use even today. It's just absolutely astonishing how much he managed to figure out. And of course, at the ends of his knowledge, he said the rest is, basically in the design of God's hands, which probably, which is what we call the God of the gaps argument, which is basically pushing God to the ends of the our of how much we know about the universe. And now, of course, everybody's at the Big Bang because we don't know what happened before the Big Bang. So now, once we figure that out, we'll see where God ends up next. Ah, it is just nonsense. Today, people must have heard the Aarti too, said others. Um, nice one, Piyush. Science takes you to the moon. Religions take you into buildings, flies you into buildings. That's a brilliant one. Hey, No 22 Sil, welcome, welcome. Glad to see you here. My thoughts on gluten. Um, the primary thing about gluten is that it is a protein. It's a protein found in wheat products, and there are a certain percentage of people. I think this is about 1 to 2% of all humans have celiac disease, which leads to which is basically it's an autoimmune disease that when your intestines kind of detect that there's gluten in them, they get inflamed because it triggers an immune response like an allergy. So other than those people, there's really nothing wrong with gluten. It's what makes your, like when you're rolling some bread, it makes your bread kind of stick together in that nice ball, and then you stretch it out, you kind of get the gluten threads kind of sticking with each other, and it just makes your bread kind of hold together and makes your cake hold together, and it makes all the delicious things in the world um, stick together. So gluten's a good thing, and there are some people who are not tolerant towards it and don't do well. And for them, I'd say stay away from it. But there is nothing wrong with having gluten in your diet if you don't have celiac disease. So if you want to get rid of gluten, just I don't know, take a test for celiac disease, and if it comes out clear, then you don't have to worry about it. It's fine. It's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Um, where were we? So no 2 sil, no 22 sil. Does that work for you? Glad I could help. So, so yeah, watching Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about Newton is heartwarming. So, if you can find a video of him doing that, please go ahead because the amount of passion that he uses, that kind of exudes from him when he's talking about Newton, is like he's his biggest fan. Like even Einstein doesn't stand anywhere close to Newton as far as he's concerned. Right, yeah, Gurnoor Singh. How do you think we can devalue religion in this country? Should we go down the route that Dawkins followed, that is scientific upholding, or the route where we point out illogical things in religious texts? Um, the thing is, it's not about, yeah, totally. Startup is totally awesome, D. I I listen to it as often as I possibly can. Anyway, Gurnoor, I don't think it's about devaluing religion. I feel that everybody's got a right to follow whatever religion they want. They have the right to believe whatever they want, as intelligent or as stupid as anyone might think. But it's not really um, it's not really something that I think we should aim to do is devalue religion, because a lot of people hold a lot of value in it in their lives and in their family lives, and it kind of helps them get through life. It might be irrational, but this indoctrination which we have when we're kids just kind of helps us push through and kind of stay together. So the key thing is, I think the most important thing we need to be aware of is when people use religion for division, when they're trying to use their religion to target somebody else or to control people inside your own population. So people who are already, these a lot of these religious leaders, you talk about Sadhguru, even though he says he's doesn't belong to any particular religion, but he does keep referring to a lot of Hindu texts. Um, Even people like that use the belief system of whatever that they hold you know most valuable, or at least their followers hold valuable. They use that to manipulate them to either gain power or get a lot more money. And like you've got Baba Ramdev, who's going around. He's now a multi-billionaire probably, with his Patanjali company. So his following is basically going after anything he says. Now, every single video you see of him doing his yoga, he's promoting one product or the other, just like randomly off the top of his head, and he just keeps rattling these things off. And it's very hard to kind of keep debunking that, because it's like a gish gallop, it just keeps coming out. That's what Baba Ramdev said. But and the thing is about pointing out illogical things in religious texts is that Hinduism has so many different religious texts that where do you start pointing things out? Some of it is basic and understandable, but a lot of it is you can't really debunk it. That's why when I was talking to Vimo in the interview I had with him, he said that basically I let the people who I'm talking to define their gods or their religion or whatever their beliefs are in their terms, and then we can talk about that in that microcosm and kind of really focus on that. But Hinduism doesn't have that one book that you can just open up and talk about all the ridiculous things it has in it. Every Veda, I'm sure, has got a million good things and a million weird things and bad things, which we can keep dismantling as and when they come by. If they start informing the laws that are governing this country, then we definitely need to expose that as you know which something that goes against, say, human rights or basic rights, civil rights. So we need to tackle that piece by piece as and when they become relevant. But we and at the same time, we also need to improve scientific literacy, scientific awareness, and kind of show people that science is a valuable thing that you need to understand, that is not taught properly in school, at least not in the schools that I've heard of. Maybe I'm sure there are some schools that do it, and it's all down to the teachers, right? But the system doesn't really allow that appreciation of science to come through. I could never have gotten through it. I love biology, that's my pet favorite, but since nobody really taught me maths properly, I don't really know how to do it properly. And so I could never get into science in high school. And therefore, now I'm just a science enthusiast who's promoting scientific thinking. But I'm not a scientist, and I don't think I can possibly be one at this stage in life, at least. So yeah, I hope that helped you clear some things up. So Piyush says this video, his video answering conspiracy theories, is bang on. I think you're referring to Neil deGrasse Tyson. Absolutely. His cosmic queries, absolutely fantastic. I hope to be able to get an interview with him. I haven't managed to yet, but I'm going to keep trying. So we'll see how that works out. Right. Piyush says for direct context on actual religious texts, watch Human with Science. They give it you on a plate. They debunk it piece by piece. Human with Science. Is this a YouTube channel or something, or what? Um, I'd be interested in checking that out. And of course, the moon landing thing is absolutely ridiculous. I remember when I went to the to SciCon in 2018, in the before times, uh, before all this, pandemic thing happened. But I was there. I was going to watch, weirdly enough, First Man, and I was just buying the ticket at the cinema hall and getting, kind of getting into it and trying to, just getting the ticket. And there's this random dude who's just standing next to me and he says, "So, which movie are you going to watch?" And I said, First Man. He said, "What's that about?" I said, "It's about the first man on the moon, about the moon landing and, the whole missions before that and how it all happened and, all of that stuff." So he said, "Do you really think that happened?" I said, "Yeah, I do. There's quite a bit of evidence that it did happen, and maybe you should watch this movie. We could go in together." But he was going to watch some other movie. But yeah, even in this day and age, well, I don't think even in this day and age, but because we have a lot of bullshit floating around. But yeah, there are too many people who don't believe the moon landing took place, and I cannot understand why. I understand why in the 80s it could have kind of come together because they would have watched, Space Odyssey and said, "Oh, that looked that realistic. Well, it would be very easy to make to fake a moon landing." But there are a lot of excellent videos out there, including one from NVIDIA, which totally debunks the moon landings. You should definitely check them out. Um, YouTube channel, Human with Science. I'm gonna check that out for sure. I gotta take a note over here. Human with Science. Mm. Ooh, right. Notes. Quick notes. Is this an Indian channel? That should be very interesting. New phrase added. Which phrase is that? Even in this day and age. Day and age. I see what you did there. I get it. I get it. And the thing is, we can't put anything past what is happening in this day and age, right? Like, there's so much nonsense. Like, we still have people. I mean, I was talking to Professor Dave about exactly this. That no matter what you do, year after year, decade after decade, there is more pseudoscience coming out and new random ones which don't even make sense. You're like, how the hell did somebody think this up? Like, for example, Professor Dave's got a couple of amazing videos on the electric universe, which basically is like the sun is an electrode or something of that sort, and that's why it's glowing in the dark, and that's why we are getting energy from it, which is bizarre. Like, after everything that we know about our solar system and our cosmos, it's just bizarre how people can just throw it all out the window, think up some other random nonsense, and just spew it out as if they know everything. It's so random, and it is so disturbing to see that happen constantly. Like, I mean, I can understand why people would kind of take vaccines for granted, for example. Like, they become so used to the benefits of vaccines that we don't even need them anymore. that we don't even encounter a lot of the diseases that the vaccines have wiped out. But now all of a sudden, they'll be coming back because because people have just taken it for granted now. They're living with the benefits without even knowing that. And therefore, they take everything for granted and they just, yeah, don't take vaccines. By the way, there is this um, a kind of a pool being put together for Robert Kennedy Jr. Coming onto Joe Rogan's channel and for somebody to basically debate him because he's an anti vaxxer. And not only is he an anti vaxxer, but he has, in with the conversations he's gotten into and with the messages he's promoting, he's actually, I'm sure he's got blood on his hands. He has definitely led to a lot of people dying because of the kind of nonsense that he's spewing. So, but if you know anybody who is worthy, I mean, who can basically demolish him, maybe not a doctor or anything of that sort, but at least a science communicator, I think you should just storm their DMs or their comment sections and just tell them, go debate this guy. Because I think debating is very, very important. It's not about giving people like this a platform, but pseudoscience and nonsense needs to be debunked. And with somebody like this Kennedy guy and Joe on Joe Rogan's podcast, I mean, it's massive. You could that is a huge outreach to a lot of people who don't believe this nonsense because of Joe Rogan and the kind of people he has on his show. We definitely don't need science deniers in this country or any other country, for sure. Boozer, thanks. Is the moon's south pole where we landed considered the far side? Hasn't China already landed a rover on the far side? Also, will we get ice or soil samples back to Earth for investigation? I don't think there is a route back to Earth at this point of time, not with the Chandrayaan missions. That's not in their mission deliverables. The the point is that there is ice on the moon in the South Pole, and the thing is the moon, you don't really see the moon, and this is thanks to Vijay, who is an astrophotographer, amazing astrophotographer, by the way, who told me this. We'd gone to Ladakh and we were talking about the moon, and he's an amazing uh, moon photographer, actually. You should go check out his Instagram page. What was it? Moon Mountain Climber. Lunar Mountain Climber. I think that was the one. Let me just double check. And you should check out his pictures of the moon. They are phenomenal. And I will get to my point very quickly. Just a second. Lunar Mountain Climber. No. Yeah, Lunar Mountains Climber. Underscoring each one of these. This guy, basically. Check this. So he's the one who told me that we actually see a lot more of the moon than we think. Oh, he's even taken some pictures, amazing pictures of the moon and where Chandrayaan's Vikram module is going to land. Like, he is a huge moon fanatic. So he told me that that basically the moon, we see more of the moon than we realize because the moon is always kind of wobbling in its orbit. And because of the tidal forces of the Earth, and it's always kind of wobbling. So when we are looking at the moon, whichever way you want to look at it, 1 second, I have this. Aha! Hey. So this is not really a, say, anatomically accurate moon. Anyway, so as the moon is orbiting us, if you watch a time lapse, you're actually watching it kind of wobble a little like this, and it keeps going around. So we actually see a lot more of the moon, more than 50%, about 65% of the moon. I don't quote my numbers, But because it wobbles like this, we actually see quite a bit of the moon, more than than it's just one face facing us. And so therefore the south pole is partially in the dark, partially in the light, and it depends on the position of the moon. So it is a place where, because of the acute angle of the sun, there are a lot of craters where there is no sunlight reaching at all. And therefore, they have water, which is. Oh, yeah, I better put this up. So there's water in those craters, absolutely frozen at the bottom of those craters, and they never evaporate because there's never any sunlight. So that's where um, the ice is going to be. So there's further evaluation of that, which the mission is going to check out, and that's why it's got the rover to kind of go and have a look at some of these craters or even the soil and try and figure out some more details about the lunar soil, otherwise called regolith, and try to basically find out if there's water and what are the minerals are there, what are the fundamental other elements and molecules that can be found in the regolith, so that they can be used for either refueling, for using water to create hydrogen and oxygen, maybe for a lunar base, or even for refueling on the way to another destination like Mars. So and a lot of other details. If you want to know more, I will be coming out with this article with a lot of the details of the mission um, in a few days. So, as I said in the beginning of the stream, before some of you had joined, I am a writer for the Parliamentarian magazine, and I'm their science columnist. So I'm just about to finish off my article about Chandrayaan 3 and all the details about that. So keep an eye on that. And it's not just about Chandrayaan 3, it's actually about the entire journey of ISRO coming down to Chandrayaan 3 and seeing how much they've actually managed to accomplish, what they've learned from their mistakes, and maybe what their future plans are. Let's see. So keep an eye out for the Parliamentarian magazine. I'm putting in as much details as I can. Dhruv Rathi's already come out with a video, so if you're impatient, you can check that out. Aha. Right, moving on. Boozer. I will see you on the dark side of the moon. Oh yeah, and if you guys if you've heard the Pink Floyd song of the Dark Side of the Moon, or the entire album for that matter, it is mind blowing. If there is anything, if you haven't listened to the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon album, please do. It's phenomenal. Trust me. I got into it way too late in life. I think it was in my early 20s, maybe, which I still feel was way too late for me to discover this album or the band. So definitely check it out. Pakistan. So, first of all, D has said Pakistan, one of the few countries with polio, um, they actually kill aid workers, believing it is a Western conspiracy to sterilize them. Yes, I have heard about this. And it's not just in Pakistan. There are other countries where this has happened, especially Islamic countries for some weird reason. And yes, polio does sometimes come back in the form, and especially where water hygiene is, in countries where water hygiene is not very good. So even if you've got the polio vaccine, somehow it manages to have live polio particles in poop, and it goes into the water system, and then people can get reinfected. And we have got anti-vaxxers of every shape and form out there. So it's absolutely horrible. Superstition and non scientific thinking is a life and death matter. Will gatherings and meetings of atheists make atheism yet another religious sort of phenomenon, even though atheism starts with skepticism? One thing though, atheism doesn't always start with skepticism. In atheism can start for a variety of reasons. But ideally, yes, atheism should start with skepticism. And you know what? Like even Like, I've heard a lot of people say that, atheism is another religion because, you've got Richard Dawkins and Charles Darwin, and you have your saints, like, Hitchens, and these are the people you worship, and you also gather in places, especially when I was going to psychon. Like, you guys gather in places, and you have meetings and all sorts of things. I'm like, yeah, because people have meetings and all sorts of things. And it's just because we're gathering in one place and just because we are talking about the issues that we're facing doesn't mean that we are a religion. A religion has certain hallmarks. It has superstitious beliefs at its core. There's probably some text which highlights and outlines those superstitious beliefs. There are temples, there are places where these gatherings take place, not with each other. I mean, that social gathering is a social gathering. There's nothing much else you can do about it. But the actual congregation, the religious congregation, has a superstition or a supernatural belief system that they are catering to do certain rituals for no scientific reason. When atheists meet, we talk to bitch about our lives, just one thing. We also talk about the issues that we see around us in society, which is caused by religion, and that we can see clearly, but the religious can't because we have had those rose tinted glasses taken off, and we can see the world for what it really is. And with some applied skepticism, we can really, address those problems, and maybe we can come together and do activism to fix those problems in our society. So that's what atheism does. That's what skepticism does as well. That just because we meet up and have a relatively common belief system doesn't mean that we all believe the same things, because lots of atheists have a huge variety of different thought processes that they that they take on, because everybody is having their own experience. They're looking at the world through their own eyes. There is no doctrine that we are all absorbing at one go. We all, if we are skeptics, believe the scientific method, but we don't hold the scientific method as dogma. We will change with the evidence. Will have our minds change with the evidence, and we're totally fine with that. If if we are proven wrong about something, hopefully, we will also change our minds about whatever position we've been standing on. So it doesn't really I don't think there's any grounds for anybody calling atheism or any there's no fear of atheism becoming another religion, because even in the atheistic movement there's own atheism is basically the position, a response to one question: do you believe in a god or gods? And the answer is no. Or the answer is we don't necessarily believe that until we have been convinced that a god or gods exist. And that's it. There is nothing else to that position. There is no dogma, there is no literature for specifically atheism and how atheists should be and what they should believe. We all have our own things. Sorry, maybe I rambled on there a little bit too long. Boozer, welcome back. I wouldn't be surprised if this is my brother actually renaming himself. Vikram, if you're still around. Okay. Wait till until you see Sanatani hardliners claiming the success of this program by bringing Vedas into the picture. I'm sure they will at some point of time or the other. It's not out of this world to be able to see. I'm sure even the Chandrayaan module had a probably a prayer ceremony or a havan or something like that before it launched. I would not be surprised about that at all. We are still very, very deeply embedded in our belief system. Ah, thank you, Boozer. I got it. And D said, I still have my Floyd albums from high school. Well done. I have all my CDs. I still have all my CDs, and I still listen to them. So, I can't give them up. I went to great lengths to find a CD player that I could play my CDs on, because I've still got all my CDs from back in the day. Never going to get rid of them. Absolutely priceless. Rationalism does start with skepticism. That is true. Rationalism, though, I think is more of a synonym for skepticism, just the Indian synonym for it, because we don't call our skeptics skeptics. We just call them rationalists, which really comes to the same thing, I think. That's why my channel is called Rationable. See? Um, Atheists do not believe in a sky daddy, for instance. For sure, they do not. What do you think about the US Congress discussing alien sightings? Oh boy, oh boy. Now, I've got an interview lined up, where we'll go through all of this in great detail with this guy called Brian Dunning. I don't know if you've heard of him, but if you've heard of the Skeptoid podcast, he is the host of the Skeptoid podcast. He's the creator of Skeptoid. And he is releasing a movie called the UFO movie They Don't Want You to See, which is a very interesting name for a UFO movie for sure. So yeah, I'm gonna have him on, and we're going to discuss all of this in great detail about all the Congress sightings. But in short, my thing is everything that they have said in the hearings is still hearsay. There is no real evidence to any of that. It's just little bits of people talking about things that they've seen 20 or 30 years ago. And they still can't explain it. And the very fact that they can't explain it and they don't know what it is because it is an unidentified aerial phenomena or phenomenon doesn't mean that they're aliens. It means that it's unidentified. It means that they don't know. That doesn't mean that we know it's aliens. You see, they've mentioned several times non-human equipment. But how can you possibly know what is human and what is non-human? There is absolutely no substance to anything that they've said because they have not presented any reliable evidence to any of that. It's as simple as that. I don't give it any more credence than that. D. Do you think all or most atheists go through an angry phase? Absolutely. Some of them don't leave the angry phase. That's the problem, because I went through the angry phase. It wasn't very much of an angry phase. It was more about, oh my God, there's this new thing that I think I am, and let me tell people about it. And like I said so I'm a member of a group called the Brights Society, which is based in Pune, but now they're kind of spreading out. So they are an atheist group. It's based in Pune, but I went there when was it last year to have a discussion with them and kind of go to their conference. So, and that's one thing which I told them is like, how do you know someone's an atheist? The answer is they will tell you. So I had that phase, and I think a lot of people go through that. And the more people that people have kind of been indoctrinated, the longer that they have existed in that indoctrination, the angrier they will be, because they have they feel that they've wasted so much of their lives believing in lies, that everybody that they loved and everybody they trust has lied to them, basically. So, and that the books, the doctrines that they've been looking at, those have been filled with lies as well. So I'm not surprised that a lot of atheists do go through this angry phase. I think even Seth Andrews, when I was talking to him, I've been listening to this podcast from the very beginning. Even he had this period of time when he was that angry atheist, and he'd spent almost over 30 years believing in Christianity. And I could hear that in his voice when he was doing the podcast. And he's mellowed down. But there are a lot of people who don't mellow down, who just kind of stick to their guns and stay angry and stay in people's faces. And I think that's great. Like I think it takes every single kind of voice out there to really change minds, because everybody you speak to is is influenced by different things. So when you have a person who has just become an atheist or has been an atheist for a long period of time, I mean, of course, every atheist, as I said before, is completely different because everybody's an individual. And it's somebody famous said that, bringing atheists together for a cause is like herding cats, which is understandably impossible. But we do manage every now and then. Um, Cats can sometimes become wolves. But, like, for example, Matt Dillahunty, for David Silverman, there are lots of these atheist activists who have, just as a part of their personality, stayed angry because that's just, or have been very, feathered. What do you call it? On a feather trigger, feather. Uh, I'm forgetting the exact term, but basically on a hair trigger. Basically, they're on a hair trigger. Especially Matt Dillahunty. Like, I've spent a very significant portion of time over the last couple of months just watching Matt Dillahunty videos, to the point where I'm like, oh, hey, today I'm just going to try and watch some happy stuff. But because primarily because Matt Dillahunty gets very upset, or not upset. He gets very frustrated very quickly, and he does have a very quick temper. But he has also changed a lot of minds by having these conversations. And at the same time, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have people like Anthony Magnabosco, who have taken the exact opposite approach, where they do not claim anything. They don't even put their own views in front of their interlocutor. They just ask questions. That Socratic method of just asking questions and finding the root of your belief systems and asking you to question that root and how you came to that belief. So I personally, I'm more in Anthony Magnabosco's, you know, circle. But angry atheists are welcome everywhere as well. You piss some people off, maybe you get your message out there, maybe you change some minds. Every voice is should be out there and getting heard. Um, it When it comes to the ridicule of religions, it really depends on the context. This is very, very context dependent. There are a lot of people who get very, very. I mean, for example, Atheist Republic. What's his name? The ex-Muslim. I'm forgetting his name. Very bad of me. But yeah, he's got the Atheist Republic channel, and he is he is he is constantly ridiculing all sorts of religion, and he is doing a bang up job. Now he pisses off a lot of people, and that actually gets word out to more people that he is ridiculing different religions in different ways. He's ridiculed Hinduism and Christianity and Islam more than anything else. And Armin Navabi, that's the one. Thanks, D. So Armin Navabi is the chap we are talking about. Um, he's your boss? Are you serious? Oh, you did say he's your boss. Oh my god. All right. Okay, my bad. Show him this video. All right. I'm just kidding. So yeah, so Armin Navabi is, he's been showing like pictures of was it Kali in, in a very provocative artworks. He's done all sorts of things, but at the same time, it is that ridicule which helps get the word out more. It does piss people off, but at the same time, if you are in a place where um, if that is the way that you have chosen to kind of get the word out and to kind of get your target audience to listen, then more power to you. The problem lies, but the thing is, when we have absolute blatant um, ridicule on, but the thing, let me gather my thoughts. I think it has to be done in a tactful and strategic manner. I don't always agree with Armin's methods. I don't always think that they're wise, but that is how he's chosen to position himself. The important thing is to remain critical of the ideas and not of the people who hold those ideas necessarily, unless those people are manipulating those ideas to manipulate more people and cause harm to those people. They need to be called out. Like, for example, faith healers need to be ridiculed, and really they have to have a light shone on them. But in everyday conversations, when we're talking about YouTube comment sections, when we're talking about Twitter or what's called X now, or Facebook or anything of that sort, the ridicule of religious beliefs should be of the religion, not of the person. And it should keep things as non personal as possible. And under no circumstances should a person be insulted in the context of that, because that just is bigotry. And that's not right. So there's a line that needs to be drawn very clearly. Um, Gurnoor Singh has said, I meant devaluing religion in legislative stance. Gujarat HC rejected a minor rape victim's abortion plea, citing Manusmriti as source, that earlier girls used to have children while they were under 18. That that is absolutely horrible. So we need to we whenever we see religion being used by our government or law and order system, our judicial system, to promote rulings based on the judges or the court's religious beliefs, that needs to be highlighted and shot down, because we this is one thing which is happening more and more in our country, that the religions are becoming a part of the government, and there needs to be a clear separation between the government and the religion, and whatever religion anybody's following. We are not Pakistan or Saudi Arabia or any of the, we are not a theocracy. We are a secular country. So therefore, the government should also be secular in its premises, and it should be secular in all the sentences that the High Court might give out or the Supreme Court might give out. There can be absolutely no room for religion in such rulings when it comes to highlighting a case, or coming down to a sentence, or setting a premise for anything, setting a precedent for any of these things. That is definitely something that we need to be fighting against, for sure. Boozer says stupidity is always ridiculed. What's new? First of all, I've had this conversation with a couple of people. Religions are not stupid. People can be stupid, but they're not stupid for believing in a certain religious idea. The religions are actually very well crafted, or I wouldn't say well crafted, but whatever it is, they have enough wiggle room for interpretation for anybody to be able to use those texts to manipulate people. And it's not about stupidity, it's about gullibility. And gullibility has nothing to do with the level of intelligence. So people who believe are not stupid. There can be stupid people who are atheists. There are stupid people who are religious. There are extremely intelligent people all over the world, and their belief systems say absolutely nothing about their level of intelligence. They are all equally, I think, intelligent. But yes, when it comes to stupid behavior, that's something that we can all have a little fun with. Peter says, it's like, how stupid is it to refer and quote text like the Manusmriti in this day and age? Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, absolutely, Piyush. You should call it out then and there. But, be careful. Like, I know if your family is cool with that kind of discussion happening, that you do you. Just don't get thrown out of the house for whatever reason. That's fine. How to argue with a blind believer? Most of the time, educated people fail to argue with blind believers or stupid people. Um, why and how to win an argument with them? Do we require to use fallacies? Now, hmm. So I wouldn't say that we should argue with anyone. Like a debate or whatever it is, a conversation should always be respectful and civil. There should never be raised voices. There should never be any shouting or screaming, and or abuses or saying, "Oh, you're so stupid." And I would also count that you are committing this logical fallacy by saying this. That like you're creating a straw man. You're this is begging the question. This is blah blah blah, whatever it is, and I don't think that's usually helpful. Maybe it is. If it's in some sort of context, it could be helpful. But honestly, I feel that the most um, effective way, in my opinion, and as I said, every atheist has their own opinions and their own methods on how they want to have these conversations. But I would suggest you go to the street epistemology channels. Anthony Magnabosco, Anthony C. Magnabosco, I think, is one of them. And his method of Socratic questioning, of just asking some basic questions. And yes, with friends and family, this can be difficult because we are already too comfortable with them to not tell them exactly what we think of them. But we really need to be, the primary thing is to not try and win an argument. The primary thing is to understand their position and to question their position respectfully and see how they reached that position. They should be feeling as comfortable with you as they are with anyone else. They should be bonding with you during this kind of a conversation. So I wouldn't personally argue with them. I try to have this conversation. I say, like, why do you believe that way? What led you to believe in this manner? Why do you think your belief is justified? Like, how did you reach this? Is this Would you use this sort of, like, this sort of thought process in any other aspect of your life, etc., etc.? I've got a great video, an interview with Anthony Magnabosco on my channel. Please go check it out, watch the whole thing beginning to end, and then I've got his links and everything in the description. Go watch his stuff. It is mind-blowing. It is so peaceful, and it's so relaxing to be able to to watch those conversations happen. And it doesn't have to end in an agreement. You don't have to end it with debunking something or someone. The point is just to have that conversation respectfully, and if things are getting heated, you say, you know what, maybe today we need to just kind of let things go. Let's relax. Let's watch a movie. Let's, go for a drive, whatever it is, cool off, and talk about other things for a while until you both kind of cooled off. And then you come back to it later when, when you're feeling like it. So, yeah, don't try and argue with people. Try and have conversations, understand their position, question their position respectfully. And if they don't change their minds, that's all right as well. Religion is for those people who are afraid of dying. Ooh. Such people need these sweet sounding lullabies to pacify them. I think, to an extent, yeah, you have a point. Um, the fear of dying, though, is something that is evolutionarily ingrained in us. We don't want to die. We want to have sex with as many people as possible, create as many babies. And I'm talking, I'm talking strictly from an evolutionary point of view. That's what our DNA wants us to do. Have as much procreation as possible, and then we can die. So, but then, we all want, most of us don't want to die. We want to live an eternal life. But when you really think about it, most people don't really want to live forever. And especially in heaven, just sitting around and seeing clouds and angels, and somebody, I want to watch an action movie, but all of those are sinful. It's getting late. Hey, brother, booyah! Welcome back. Don't argue, just laugh real, real loud. That's how my brother does this. Yeah, absolutely. And compliment them on something while you're at it. Yeah, that was a good one. Oh, this is such a good philosophy. It is that also is great fun if they're laughing with you, by the way. And yeah, Boozer, you might be onto something with your tag name there, because having a drink with someone while you're having this conversation can, in some cases, loosen the tension a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Get a bucket of popcorn while they justify their stand. You, sir, are a sadist. You know that, right? You are a sadist. Or like, why not in conversation? Absolutely. There are many conversations which I've seen the the trigger happen, and I'm like, oh, I just gotta watch this. Wait a second. Oh, come on, come on. Just oh, by the way, this is my favorite toy. Whenever I have my mind blown on my videos, that's what happens. Did Freeman Dyson say that atoms have sentience? I don't know. I have absolutely no idea who might have said that. There are lots of people who say a lot of weird things. Um, but then that's what we're here for. Uh, which reminds me, I still have to um, make that video about about Oppenheimer, using the Bhagavad Gita and stuff like that, and learning about quantum physics through the Vedas, which obviously didn't happen. So I will get down to that very, very soon. I promise you guys. This is definitely in my list, and it keeps popping up. And I have this reminder which keeps popping out, like, you want to make a video about this, so I will. I want to find the right person to be able to really answer these questions, preferably a quantum physicist. So if I can find one, I will get them on this show. And right now, it seems we have gone for an hour and a quarter, which is fabulous. I was not expecting this to happen. So thank you, everyone who joined this. Thanks, bro, Vikram. Thank you for joining in, and everybody else, Adarsh, D, Gurnur, Boozer, of course, and No 22 Sil. And who am I missing? Piyush, of course, and Vimo. Thank you all for joining me for my first ever uh, live stream, live show. Come at me, bro. Okay. Anyway, thanks a lot for joining me. I'll put this whole stream up very, very soon. And let me know if there's anything. I mean, would you guys prefer to do this on a weekend? Let me know right now. There's no evidence which proves that consciousness is external to the. Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with you there. This whole consciousness conversation is completely, it's irrelevant to me in most ways. It just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I don't even understand why somebody would have that position. But hopefully one day we'll tackle this on on my channel. But anyway, so as I was saying, thank you all for joining me. You guys have yourselves a very good night. Thanks for sticking around this late. And it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll do this a lot more. I promise you that. And next time, if we can, we'll have some people who joins me in the video, and we can have a little debate, etc., etc. When you come back with the other lives, I will come back. I'll let you know. I think maybe this Saturday. You guys are up for Saturday, 10 p.m. How's that? Right after Vimo's thing. Hey. So I'll put up a post whenever it's happening next, and I will see you guys there. Thank you. Good night. Peace out. Chandrayaan and Vikram module. Thank you, sir. Chalo, have a good night. Thank you so much for joining me, and see you at the next live stream. And hopefully, we'll get some really interesting conversations going then as well. Ciao. Until later. Be rationable. See ya.